Salutations, everyone. Welcome to our podcast. We hope you're having a fantastic day listening to this wherever you are, whatever time. And guess what? You know who it is. It's me, Brady Fesco. We got Michael Goldstein. We got Patrick Newman. We got Kale Zizabados. We got Ian Dickerson, and guess what? This is our first episode, but we already got a huge guest on our podcast today. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to the one and only Miss Jennifer Juarros.
Why, thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. How's how the final quarter going?
It's going. We're just buckling down, getting ready for our last concert, and looking forward to 6 weeks off.
Nice. So, I mean, you know, I know who you are. Obviously, me and Patrick have a little bit of experience with you, but to all of the listeners who don't, how's your teaching experience like? What are you all about?
Well, I've been teaching. This is my 27th year, so I know I don't look that I've been teaching 27 years, but I have happily teaching for 27 years. I think that's the only fair thing for kids is to be happy if you're doing it. Most of my experience has been in Arizona, probably 19, 20 years here, and then the other 7 were in New Mexico. Got my bachelor's degree at New Mexico State in music education, and then my master's degree from NAU in educational leadership, thinking that I might someday want to get out of the classroom, and I quickly learned that that's not what I wanted to do, that I love being with the kids every day.
All right, so are you ready to dive into some questions we have for you?
I'm ready.
We are
Let's
fully
do it.
prepared. All right, so I think we can just go ahead. We can start off with just an easy question, just getting it right out of the system. Why did you decide to start teaching music? What kind of what life experience led you to this moment that you're at right now?
So I started a band in 6th grade. I loved it from the get-go. It's where all my friends were. I love the outlet of getting to be creative and make music. I knew I wanted to be a teacher very early on, probably, I would guess, maybe my freshman year in high school. And I thought that I might want to do like kindergarten or 1st grade. So when it was time to go to college, I lived in a small town. There was a community college there, so I could have started my education for elementary ed. But there was no music ed program. So I decided that I wanted to pursue that because I wasn't ready to give up playing my instrument, because I did love playing my instrument, and I just love the camaraderie of being with the band kids. So I had amazing band directors that made me feel valued and made me love being a part of it, and I just wanted to do that for other kids.
Nice. So our podcast, we're talking about like the evolution of your teaching style from like beginning of day one to right here today. So I mean, if you can think back to like your early first year or two as a teacher, I mean, what sort of like, I guess, early obstacles did you face? What was your experience as you started to become a music teacher?
Well, I think probably your first few years, you're just trying to survive. You're young yourself, and so you haven't, for lack of a better way, you haven't proved yourself. You haven't proved yourself to your fellow teachers, to the parents, to the students. So I think you really do spend a lot of time just trying to prove that you know what you're doing, even though you don't know much yet. And then, once you have some experience under your belt, things come easy, like classroom management becomes much easier for you once you have a lot of practice doing it. When kids come across issues on, whether it's a rhythm they're struggling with or notes they don't know how to play, just the experience of doing it day in and day out, it just becomes super easy for you. And then I feel like I was able to start building relationships. So in the first years, I didn't have what I would consider a good relationship with my students. I was always fair and I was always kind, but I saw them as these people that were coming into my room and they had a job to do. They had to learn music. Well, when you care about them and when you show them you care about them outside of just what they're doing in your classroom, they work harder for you. So when you're not so concerned about the hard stuff in the beginning, then you just form a relationship and they work harder for you. So I think that's what's changed for me mostly is with the experience now, I can have the relationships that I couldn't have in the beginning.
That's really interesting, actually, because that's the type of relationship I had with my high school band director and why I wanted to continue my education.
It wasn't just about being a trumpet player.
Yeah.
He saw you as a person.
Yeah, like a real relationship that.
So over the year, like, you know, as you got more experience under your belt, what was like, were there any sort of like specific things that you saw yourself doing that maybe you'd never learned in college? Or was there specific techniques in your teaching style that you kind of just invented yourself or just kind of took from your own sort of ways, I guess?
Well, shoot.
Spill the secrets. Spill
I just went blank on that.
What are the secrets?
I think I'm probably not understanding your question very good, probably, but I think it's more for me now. I worry less about what people think because I know that what I'm doing is providing a loving place for kids, a place that's accepting of kids, and a place that they're learning. So, you know, early on when you would have someone question you or a parent that might be upset with you about something, I would really struggle with that. And now I have more of a confidence in what I do because I do know that I come in here every day with the best of intentions of doing what's best for the kids. So I think that's just like the secret is like knowing that what you're doing is good and having that confidence. So when people do, because there are people, you know, you're going to come along with people that are like, oh, it's just fun what you do. You're not really teaching kids. And so when you figure out that, yes, what I do is valuable, and I'm not just teaching kids about music, I'm teaching them so much more. There's just a confidence that comes along with that. I
So
don't
it's
think
like
I
a-
answered the question right.
No, that was lovely.
I'm a little nervous. I'm gonna be
That was
honest.
lovely. So it's definitely like a fake it till you make it. type
Oh,
of deal,
oh,
where
God.
like, you just gotta
Oh.
keep going.
Fake it till you make it. Never
Okay.
let the kids know. Okay, now, like, I tell the kids every day, because I tell them, you learn through making mistakes, right? So if you're not going to play, if you're not going to go for it, I can't fix it. Because if I can't hear you making mistakes, I can't fix your mistakes. And so I tell the kids every day, guys, I mess up all day long, but they don't know it. You know, like, definitely, especially fake it till you make it in front of the community, in front of the parents, in front of your teacher peers. I let the kids know I make mistakes all day long, but everybody else, I'm like, you know, you fake it till you make it, and you will make it. For sure, you'll make it.
So you obviously mentioned how you had you have a lot of experience in multiple different fields of music, multiple different grade levels. What grade level did you first start teaching with, first of all?
My very first teaching position, I was actually an assistant band director at a middle school in Texas, which was awesome. The band director there was a phenomenal band director, and I just learned so much just watching her because we team taught every class. So I got to see her teach. I really liked her style of teaching. She had a high expectation for behavior because, you know, if they're not behaving, you can't teach them. And then my second year of teaching, I did the year of assisting, and then I didn't want to be an assistant anymore. So I was at a middle school, but it was a small middle school in New Mexico, and so I also assisted at a high school. And that was a great experience. The teacher I was with was amazing, but I figured out it didn't take me long to determine I did not want to do high school. I was intimidated by high school kids. I felt like they knew more than I knew. And then I did middle school, and then for a while I was elementary band, which I would say that every, you know, band director, choir teacher, orchestra teacher should spend time at the elementary level because you've got to see where they started and have an appreciation for that. Because without them, you can't do what you want to do at the secondary level. And then a few years, I did some general music, which was amazing. Again, it made me be a better teacher because I was seeing what they knew from like the foundation, the very start. And, you know, the singing and how much that can help in my band room, or rhythm, how they, you know, ti, ta, ti, ta, ta, and how to translate that into actually counting the rhythms. So, middle school, is definitely my comfort. I love the relationships I can build with a middle school kid that I didn't have with elementary kids. This is a hard time in their life, and I love getting to be a part of that, helping them get through this tough spot. And in my room, just this being a place where they enjoy it and they learn something. So middle school's my jam. That's where I'm going to retire from.
Yeah.
For sure.
Honestly, really interesting what you were saying about how high schoolers were like, you were intimidated by high schoolers, because like I did not start doing choir or anything or any band until senior year of high school, because like it's I felt like it was very intimidating. I felt like everybody in there already knew way too much than they should. And I'm wondering, like, is there any kind of tips to maybe like get past that feeling, or is it just more faking it?
Well, it's kind of faking it, but being confident. Like, it's very important. Like, I think you've got to command the room. And you can't be timid with the kids. Like, one of the things that I do, and Brady can speak to this, I stand at my door. When they're coming into class, I welcome them, and as they're leaving, I'm telling them to have a good day. And I think that relationships are so important, but also them understanding that, yeah, you are the one in charge. That's hard when I remember, because when I was the assistant at the high school, I would have been 23. And so like those seniors were only, 5 years younger than me. And I can tell you, they could probably tell I was intimidated by them. So I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to be better musicians than me. They weren't. But I know that they could see that in me. They could see that I was sweating. I was like, oh my gosh. So just confident. Even if you don't feel it, you just got to be confident for sure. Because you do know more than they do, for sure.
Hopefully, after a couple $100,000 in 4 years.
Right, there you go. Hopefully you know more.
You'll know a couple more things than them.
And I joke with the kids still to this day. I'll be like, I know a little more than you. And I'll do this. I know a little more than you know. Just a little.
No, yeah, I definitely, especially this last season that I was with you for Sossaman Indoor. Like, I remember because when I first came in, I was here for the first tryout, and then I was doing stuff for Philharmonia, so I wasn't able to come back until like the final day before winter break, so everyone was already set. And I was like trying to make sure I was like, being confident, but I was also like, this is the first time I'm meeting these kids and being like, hey, I'm working with you for the next like 4 months. And so I remember that I had to also like build that confidence back up, because it's been it was since 2 years since I've been able to teach. And also I remember when I taught elementary students, it was really hard to build that connection and also be myself. I was kind of more of a PC sort of just hey, let's play trash cans together. And so there's definitely a big difference. And so I guess
huge difference between middle school and elementary kids, because they have personalities now. And you can kind of give them, you can kind of be sarcastic with them, which they love, joke around with them. I just think it's, they're fun. Every school year, even 27 years in, I'm so nervous those first days, because you want them to buy into you. Because they're not good, if they don't like you, if they don't like you, they're not going to work for you. So you have to figure out ways to get them to like you, yet have the expectation for behavior in your classroom.
Exactly. It's setting the tone, I guess, for
absolutely.
the semester quarter.
I had an English teacher my junior year, and she was so mean to us, you guys. I will never forget her. We walked in, you weren't allowed to speak a word once you entered the classroom. She would, such a routine. But I remember midway through the year, she kind of let that rope loosen a little bit. And I remember her saying, now I can let you guys be yourselves. But she said it from the get-go, this is how I want you to act when you come in the room. This is my expectation. And kids will live up to what you expect of them. You just have to be consistent in what you expect.
Consistent, exactly.
Consistent,
yes.
yep.
Yeah, I've definitely made some interesting jokes around the middle schoolers.
Which I'm sure they loved.
They did all of that. So I guess my next question is, like, you know, since you've been going from different types of students to different types of students, what sorts of things have you been able to, like, how was, like, when you're about to enter this new challenge of going to, like, this different student demographic, like, what sorts of things do you, like, try to prepare for? Or is there anything that you can do to, like, prepare for a new demographic?
I really just don't think you can, because every class, every year, a day by day, it changes. How, you know, like, a student could be the happiest kid in here, just like ready to conquer the world one day, and the next day they're having a bad day, and they come in here and they look at you like you're the evil one, you know? So I think it's just a day by day, just kind of like assessing, I have an expectation of how they're going to act, but you also learn, like, you watch and you learn, okay, I can see Anjali's having a bad day today. Like, she is usually chipper and she comes in and she's like down. And so, I'm always like, give them a reassuring, like, you okay today? Or, but Brady, I really just don't think there's anything you can do, because I think it just changes every single day. It doesn't even matter the demographic. It's a day-to-day thing.
That's crazy. I've always wondered if teachers thought like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, some
A good
days-
teacher will, like.
Yeah, a good teacher.
Yeah, like, you have to pay attention. And that's something I couldn't do my first years, because I was so worried about everything else. It came later where I could really notice kids and what they're going through. And, I try really hard to see what their other interests are. Like, kids on a sports team, I'm like, good luck at your game today. Like, if they know you care about them, they will work for you.
It's all about building the relationships, like you were saying.
Relationships, for
Exactly.
sure.
So you'd say those like interpersonal relationships, they come after some years when you get comfortable?
For me, yeah, the first years, probably, I would guess the first 3 years, I didn't see them as people.
Yeah.
I didn't see them as people that had issues outside my classroom. I didn't see them as people who, who knows what went on at home that day. I saw them as these little band kids, and you have to come in and you have to do this, this, and this. It came after probably 3 or 4 years. I realized, well, they're people, and I need to understand they're not just little band people. They're like, have lives outside of this. They have issues. They have troubles. Good days, bad days.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing I'm nervous about my first few years of teaching is, how am I going to deal with, like, all these new people and personalities and have to learn
And their
all
mood
of them?
swings, and
Yeah.
because they do have them, especially middle school age. Like, it's a tough time. And then you think about high school kids. Look at what they go through in those 4 years. I mean, they're driving for the first time. Maybe they have their first heartbreak. They have their first, parents went through a divorce or whatever. For a lot of kids, school is their happy place, their safe place. And that's one thing that's so important as a teacher to realize. You could be the only smile they get that day. You could be the only positive thing that happened in there. And for me, I'm going to be honest, that was school for me, because my home life was not a positive, happy place to be. And so school was where I got to be like, they didn't know that, right? So it was my safe place. And so again, you might be that only smile a kid gets. You might be that only like pat on the back a kid gets when you could see that they're just not having a good day. So it'll come. I couldn't do that for my first years, because I was so like, oh my gosh, studying the music scores and like just so concerned with, did I do attendance and, all those things. And after a while, all that comes just such habit that you can focus on the other stuff. That's how it was for
It's
me.
wonderful.
How do you balance skill levels in like the grade?
Oh my gosh. I
This is gonna be like such a powerful question. Okay, cool. Yeah.
That is something I still struggle with, because you are going to have the kids that come in and, they might all have 2, 3, 4 years experience, but they are so far off on their ability. I will assign peer helpers. That's a big thing that I'll do. I will ask kids to come in for extra help before or after school without, being shameful about it. And with that, I will bring in a stronger kid too. So like if I see that there's a kid just really far below, I'll say, can you come in after school or before school? And then I'll find someone who's opposite them so they don't feel like I'm picking on them. I don't tend to shame them in front of their peers. Like, I don't want to be like, what's wrong with you? But they figure it out really fast. So they figure out, wait, I'm not doing what these other guys are doing. I've had years that I've had to change kids' schedule into a lower level band. But it's amazing to me, like a kid that will struggle, all of a sudden the light bulb just goes off, and I don't know how it happens. But you are going to have such varying levels. Like in your seating or with choral, make sure like to try to stagger kids. Like once you'll figure it out pretty quick. So try to make sure that you have like a strong, low, medium. I never put two lows together. And I try like, a band, we do like chair tests and chair placement. I still try not to make that kid who's last chair always feel like, I'm last, So I think for me over the years, peer help and just giving them 5 minutes of extra time by themselves will give them like wonders. And then find something they're doing good. Just have to, it's hard sometimes. Find something and just, encourage them and, and then it's up to them. Like, are they gonna put the work in? And if you're encouraging, they usually will.
How do you motivate kids who don't really want to put the work in? Like,
there are kids like and probably even college level kids. They don't do the practice. They don't put the work in. I don't know how to intrinsically get a kid to get that intrinsic motivation. I don't do like things like practice records because I had practice records and my parents just lied. Like my parents signed off on it, or you'll have kids that just some kids don't need the practice. Honestly, they've got some natural talent. I think I really do try to again focus on what they do right. So when I give them feedback, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a great sound. They didn't play the right note, but it was a great sound, So I think a lot of kids, if you do that, they will. And I don't lie to them. I don't lie to them, but their peers tend to, I think, motivate them more than we can, because they see their peers doing it, and they realize, oh, I can do that too if I work at it.
So like positive reinforcement is definitely a huge key in motivation wise, and also like at least trying to help get a balance between like your skill levels in the classroom.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Especially with their playing. Now, I will say, and Brady might remember this, I think, especially musically, I think the positive reinforcement is huge if they are misbehaving. I'm not so much on the, thank you, Johnny, for not running across the room. I will be like, kid, don't run across the room. So when it comes to the musical stuff, because I know that for some of them it takes so long for it to click, positive reinforcement all the way. For behavior issues, I tend to be a little old school with that, and I just nip it. Like,
So you got like a switch in here somewhere.
oh yeah, I'll call them out in front of their peers on behavior stuff. No, I'm never mean. I don't say hurtful things ever. But I'll be like, dude, you're not supposed to do that.
Nice. Yeah. So I just remember there was one point where I was like, I think I got put on. There was like 6 clarinets in my 8th grade. I got put on fourth chair, even though I was like 3rd. And I remember just like being in one of those practice rooms, like 2 mornings out of the 5 a week, just like grinding until I got that 3rd chair back.
Yeah.
I got it back.
And that wasn't because of me.
that.
It was you.
I was angry
Yeah.
at myself. What was a part of the job that you didn't expect to find when you were first starting that you have now grown to love since?
Oh, grown to love? Let's
Stuff
see.
that you've enjoyed.
Could just be the lunch breaks.
Yeah.
Lunch breaks.
Little things, big things, yeah.
I've learned to embrace technology because, think about it. When I first started teaching 27 years ago, we didn't even email. Like if you wanted to, talk to parents, you typed out a letter and sent it home. COVID really actually is what made that click for me because we were at home and I had to figure out how can I engage these kids behind a computer screen. So technology has been something, it's been around for a while with education, but it's not something I really embraced and started to learn to use more until probably the last couple of years. And look, the kids are all about the technology. So you have to be about the, whatever happens, because it's going to change when you guys are, it's, 30 years from now, it's going to be something different. So I try to keep up. They laugh at me. I'll be like, snap the chat just to make them laugh, but I do try to, with the technology stuff, kind of figure out what their interests are. And I'll joke about it with them more than I do it. But, yeah, technology is one that I've had to learn. Now, the thing that I never expected that I still haven't embraced like I should is I'm not just a band director. So like at our school, we end the day each day with, we call it our sword period. So I'm having to, it's study hall basically. So I'm having to help kids with their math and helping them with their other things. And I do it because they need it, but I just want to do band. I don't want to do the other stuff. So you're gonna wear many hats, not just be a music educator. You're gonna have to learn how to do some of the other stuff.
Gotcha. That's very interesting that you said technology specifically, just because like that is kind of a thing that's getting more explored, specifically in our college right now. Like there's a class that we're all gonna have to take, or most of us will take next year, and it's about MIDI technology and
Wow.
microphones, digital audio workspaces, stuff like that, and how to embrace that more in the classroom setting, even as a band director or in a private lesson space and stuff like that. Our lovely sound guy, Jose, over here already knows all this stuff and has like all this whole microphone setup already for us. And I feel like that's something that I would have been particularly interested in school, but like that just was never a focus.
it
I
wasn't
was
an
like,
option, yeah.
didn't even exist. They were like, all right, come in here, play this part. If you mess up, I'll help you.
Yeah. And now it's great because with technology, like you can do recordings to help them, and there's all kinds of things and the kids are great. They love technology, so they'll go in. They're composing their own music already. Like I never would have been able to do that, but they go into MuseScore and stuff like that, and
almost every Apple product has GarageBand on there, and like they can explore so many different creative outlets that way. And I love that you brought up the practicing part, because like starting so late and those varying skill levels can be helped by like recording a part on GarageBand, slapping that on Canvas or something, and just saying like, hey, you guys can listen to this and practice along with it.
for sure. Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, I feel like the technology helps us go from playing music to making music. Do you ever feel like you just kind of like playing music instead of making it, and how do you navigate that?
That's one thing I actually work with my kids on, because to me, playing music is just rhythm and notes, and making music is like the dynamics and the articulations. So, yeah, that's hard because I was a very technical player myself, and it wasn't until college that I learned to play with like expression, because my band director was technical, it was, he didn't spend a whole lot of time on. We didn't play a lot of like chorales or slow pieces and things like that. So I try to actually work on musicality, which is hard for me, being kind of an old school. How do you do that on a computer? Like I don't know. They do it, but I don't know how to do it.
So I have we're running close to our time, so I'll ask you a couple more questions. Now that, with all of this experience and all of the, saying it as a positive. I'm
He's
saying
saying
it as a
I'm
positive.
old, you guys.
I'm saying it as a positive. With all of this experience and like all these, different sort of things, and we didn't even get to touch on some of the stuff, but like, you're like the school Disney trip that you guys take all the time. What is something that you would either go back in time and tell yourself when you were first starting, or just something that you would tell like up and coming music educators like ourselves or anyone listening? What's just something that you would say now that would kind of, encourage a little bit?
Like in regards to like trips and things?
Like just in general, like just in your general music experience.
Well, I think it needs to be more about just the day-to-day in class, for sure, because kids need carrots. Like, they need something to work towards. So, like, that's one of the things I do is we do the Disney trip. We have at Sossaman, we have a jazz band that's an after-school club. We have indoor percussion, which is awesome because I get previous students that come back and teach that. I think it's always important to give them they always have to have something to work towards. So I always do, we have a concert every quarter. Kids want to perform. They don't want to just be in here making music for us. So I always think it's so important that they know also what are we working towards. I think it's important for them. I always tell them, you guys, I promise there's a method to my madness, but I think it's important to share why are we doing what we do? Why do we do warm-ups? Why do we do scales? Why do we do chorales? Why do we do all these things? And because if they understand why you're doing it, I think they'll buy into it. If they're just like, she's doing this because she wants it, then they don't buy into it. And I'm gonna go back to relationships. I'm gonna tell you guys, if you do anything from day one, you greet them at the door. From day one, I didn't do that my first years. I didn't do it. I didn't know how to do it. I'm busy getting ready, looking at the music, getting ready for the next class. And I think, and I do it with all the kids, not just the band kids, building the relationships. Oh, it's so important. Just, you got to. And with your colleagues, by the way, you want to have relationships with the people that you work with because you're going to spend so much time there.
Nice. So this last question is just it's just a fun little send off question.
Okay.
So just a little lighthearted. What was probably maybe the weirdest or just the funniest experience that you've had in a classroom?
I teach middle school every day. Every day's weird.
It doesn't have to be the number one. It could just
my
be
gosh.
something recent. Just
just their quirkiness. When they come in and they want to share something with you, I will be honest, sometimes I'm I don't care about your whatever. But they just want somebody to listen to them, right? So, oh gosh. Seriously, every day is so weird and different. Just some of the stuff that they say. Oh gosh, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head. They're just fun.
Yeah.
You guys are just fun. Yeah. They're fun. That's the thing. Music kids are fun, and they just want to have fun and learn. Make it fun for them. Well, let them be themselves because they need to be themselves. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, this was so much
Ladies and
fun
gentlemen,
getting to talk about what I do.
applause.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Also, a quick little round of applause to our sound guy, Jose Castro.
Jose.
He's been monitoring it the entire time. He just gave a bow. You didn't see it, but it happened. But that concludes our this episode of the Pod.
Cast.
We hope you guys have enjoyed listening to it, and thank you guys for listening. Check back in next week for the next episode, and we'll hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
One more thing.
What's
Love
up?
what you do. Show them you love what you do.
Yes.
Show them.
Love what you do.
Love what you do. Yep.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. We'll see you guys later. Peace out. Salutations.